welcome to video number 7 in the series I'm doing on a Telecaster build. As I'm talking, I'm going to show you some close-up images of the guitar and give you a quick rundown. Essentially, it is a road-worn Telecaster body, finished in nitro, and the neck is actually a custom neck from Musicraft. I bought the body on stratosphere.com and then I purchased the neck separately. The reason I did not go with a road-worn Tele neck is essentially for two reasons. One is that the road-worn neck is a 7 1/4 radius and not a more modern 9 1/2 or 10 inch radius. So the neck I built from Musicraft has a 9 1/2 inch radius fretboard. The other being is that the road-worn neck is not finished in nitrocellulose. It is actually finished in a urethane. So those are the two main reasons I went with a Musicraft neck. I also did a custom profile on the back of the neck. It's actually a 59 Les Paul profile. But you can check out that and all the videos in this playlist by clicking up here on the eye in the corner of your screen. This video is going to focus on applying the decal. I ran into a little bit of an issue, so you'll see that and you'll see how I fixed it. And with that, let's get to the video. Thanks for watching. Okay, it's decal time, or decal time, depending on what part of the world you're from. So I've got my decal all cut out here and ready to go. Got it cut out in the shape I want because I'm going to not bury it in lacquer. I'm just going to mist it when I'm finally done, or maybe put like 1 or 2 light coats on it. So you will probably be able to see the edges, so I want to make sure that the edges are not in any kind of weird shape or something that I don't want to be seen, even though it might be faint. And I'm just going to get an idea of where I want it before I actually do it. The neck itself has been basically finished as far as the lacquer goes. The back of it, I've got it sitting on, it's actually 2 socks. They're clean socks, so I know that might be kind of weird, but they just work best. Now the back of the neck, if I was concerned about the dryness of the back of the neck, I wouldn't be sitting it on these pieces of cloth, but you can see I've got a run there. But what I'm going to do is sand off that part of the neck that you see that is lighter colored. What I did was I got too excited and I started clear coating the neck and doing a few of the tinted coats, and I forgot to tape it off. And the reason that I taped it off eventually is because I knew I was going to sand it back off, and there was no reason to make it harder for myself and do more work to try to get more layers off. So yeah, this little run you see right here is going to go away. That was a run of the tinted color, the tinted nitro. It will go away and you won't see that. And then I'll also blend in these hard lines that you see. I'll sand those back a little bit and make them look more natural, maybe, or natural believable, I guess you could say. And then I plan on, I believe, making this, because when I sand it back, it'll be really light color, and I plan on staining it maybe with tea or coffee, not as black or as dark gray as what my Strat is. I guess I could show you that real quick as a comparison. So here's my Strat neck. You can see it's pretty grayish black or dark brown. I would say gray more than anything. I don't think I'm going to go that dark on the Tele neck. I think I want to go a little lighter, but I do want to darken it up so where it's not super stark contrast. So we'll see how that goes. That's for another video. But as of right now, I've got the neck sitting on these clean socks, and so that it's not touching the desktop, and so that there's no issue with it being not fully dried yet, because I only finished spraying it like 2 days ago, and it really needs to sit like a week to 2 weeks. So what I did do is I took some steel wool. I don't know if you'll be able to see. Yeah, you can see this right here is from 300 grit paper. It was just a little dust spot or a little mark that I wanted to get rid of. When I sprayed again with the final spray, that will go away, so don't worry about that. And then right here where the decal is going to go, I actually did some steel wool just to smooth it out a little bit, and you won't be able to see any of that as well when I'm finally done. So I just want to make sure that the decal has a smooth place to sit on the headstock. So the plan is, I obviously have not put the tuner bushings in yet. I have to do that. I'll probably have to ream out the holes a little bit, get some of the nitro out of there and make those fit in better. That is also for another video. But I also don't have the string tree yet. It hasn't even arrived. So what I'm going to do, I believe, is just kind of lightly put these in their places, because I want to know where the decal is going to be with regard to the tuner bushings. I don't want the decal getting too close or getting hidden under there for some reason. So I'm going to do that, and because I don't have the string tree, these bushings or ferrules, whatever you want to call them, are about the same size as the string tree. I think the string tree is actually a little bit smaller, but I'm going to just kind of put it close to where it will be so that I can have an idea when I put the the decal on, I can get an idea of where I want it with regard to the string tree and all that. So that's the idea. I'm going to get some water, warm water, and I do have also some white vinegar. I'm gonna put that, I believe, on the edges. They make this stuff called microsol. A lot of people who do like model cars and are into water slides, they get this stuff, and I think it helps to dissolve the edges and make the edges not stand out so much. So I think I'm gonna put a little bit of that on there, on the edges. I'm not too concerned about it. My Strat has the edges showing up a little bit. Again, for comparison, if I can get this in the right light. So you can see some of the edges on my Stratocaster decal. So yeah, in some lights you can see it, in some lights you can't. But that's essentially how they did it back in the day, so I'm not too worried about it. I am going to, again, clear coat over the decal very lightly, with a few coats, just to protect it. Now also there is the option to put some nitro over the decal before I even put it on to protect the ink, but I really don't see a lot of value in that. I feel like it's gonna make it harder and more brittle for some reason. I'll also have to wait for it to dry. I don't necessarily want to do that. I think the whole idea behind spraying it with a light coat of nitro is to protect the ink from running in case you get too thick of a coat of nitro. So I plan on going very light with the nitro. I'm gonna let this, once I finish it, I'm gonna let it dry a day to get fully cured or dried, and only then will I put a mist coat of nitro on it, and then I'll let that sit for a few hours or whatever just to make sure there are no issues, and then I'll put the full coats on. So that's the plan. I don't have everything set up yet because I'm not quite ready to install it, but I wanted to give you a heads up on the course of action. Now, to my knowledge, there is no set in stone or perfect placement for a vintage style telly. Now, the more modern ones, and I guess the 70s ones, some of them have the string tree further up, and then they got the decal shifted to the back. You'll see lots of different places for a decal on a telly, but this is the typical vintage placement. So what I've seen mostly is the sort of the long part of the F needs to go like right in line with the edge of this tuner. The D, the long part of the D kind of goes along the edge of this tuner, if you can see what I'm talking about. And then overall, it kind of follows the diagonal, or it's actually parallel with the tuner holes. With my Strat decal, I feel like I got it a little too close to the edge, so I just want to be cognizant and watch out for that with this decal. And again, I don't want to get it too close to the tuners or anything as well. I think in general, this is where I want it to go. Also, I believe as far as the walnut plug, you want the top of the F kind of going, not much past that. Maybe like in line with this, if you can imagine, between maybe the A and D strings, I'm thinking is where maybe that if you drew a line, it will go to the top of the F. So that's my thoughts from what I've seen. This is not rocket science, but you don't want your decal looking like it's off, right? So just be careful and don't underestimate the sensitivity of these decals. They are very sensitive to, if you move them too much or if you crinkle them up, it's just done for. You gotta toss it. So if you've never done something like this before, just be extra careful. They're very, very, very fragile. You can tear them and rip them and crinkle them up very easily. Okay, I got my warm water here with a very tiny amount of soap in it. My hands are dry. Now what I've seen some people do is sort of bend this way a little bit so that when you put it in the water, it's gonna want to curl up. I don't want to bend it too much because I don't want to like break the ink or anything. So when I did this last time, I let it sit probably for too long. It actually came off the backing and sort of curled up in the water, and again, it was gone. So just be very careful when you're doing it. Make sure you know where you want it and all that good stuff. I'm just gonna find, again, the best picture I can of what I want. I don't want to leave this in here too long. Also, you want to put some water on here before you actually get it on there so that you can have room to move it around before it actually sets. Silver. What? Okay. I don't think I'm gonna keep this decal. It's not silver. Yeah, I think I just got a bad decal. I actually got this from a friend at work who's also doing a telly project, and I think this is gonna be a surprise to him as well. When you look at it on the paper, the white paper, it looks silver because it's just got a faint hint of silver, but it's actually see-through. I mean, you can see my flesh color through that D right there, and it was the same on the guitar. Whatever the headstock color is, comes right through. and it's not silver at all. So gonna have to go back to the drawing board on this one and find a more accurate decal. Okay, this is round 2. I've got a decal from oldfret.com. You would think that I would have learned my lesson with my first go around with the Strat decal. I went through a couple of those with the same vendor or seller and they were all not right, but I went to Old Fret and I got the right one for my Strat. So this should be the right one for the Telecaster. Old Fret says to soak it in water for about 30 seconds. So I'm gonna try to do that as best I can and then carefully place this where I want it. Hopefully everything goes to plan.
Alright, but you give me butterflies, baby, alright, but I'm a little shy, baby, alright, I've tried but I can't hide it, baby, alright, oh, I like the way I feel inside, yeah.
Okay, I think that's where I want it.
Whenever you smile, yeah.
Old Fret says to push out any water or air bubbles with the backing paper. So I'm doing that now. And then finally to just dab with a paper towel. So I think I'm gonna take a little bit of this white vinegar and put it on a paper towel and just try to dab the edges a little bit. I'm not too worried about the edges showing, so it's not a huge deal.
Every single time that you look my way, I never seem to find the right words.
And there you have it, folks. I think that's gonna do it. It looks pretty good to me.
I might just make a move, baby, alright, to get closer to